Morning everyone, welcome to week 4 of Pilates in PJs. So my name's Belinda and I am a fitness instructor working in Harlow and the surrounding areas, and we are 100% online at the minute thanks to coronavirus. So what I'm going to do and what I've been doing the last 3 sessions is just a 30-minute session on some really basic, quite classic Pilates exercises designed to get you moving in the morning and to build strength as well over the 4 weeks, 6 weeks that we'll have together. We do have a lot more classes available on bbody.co.uk. So if you want to find out more, just do get in touch or leave me a message. But for today, keeping you active in Essex, we just need to make sure that you've got enough room around you. Make sure that you've got some water as well. So stop at any time and get a drink. And it's really important that you do the exercises to a level that suits you. So listen to your body. If anything hurts or just doesn't work for you, you can try dialing the exercise down a little bit. So do an easier version, and if it doesn't work for you at all, just leave it. Just sit that one out and send me a message, and perhaps we can get to the bottom of it and I can give you some alternatives. But yeah, just do what suits you today. So let's start with a bit of a warm-up. So we're going to do a seated warm-up today. And I want you just to take a moment to settle yourself in on your mat, sitting nice and tall for me, please. And take 2 deep breaths in. So lateral thoracic breathing, so the rib cage expands as you breathe in. Then on the next breath out, I'd like you to drop your chin towards your chest and release. And again, drop the chin towards the chest and release. So you'll feel that draw through the top of the shoulders there, base of the neck. Then we can turn, look over the shoulder, side to side. Keep the movement nice and smooth and flowing. And we can make this movement a little bit bigger, bringing in a torso twist as you look over the shoulder. So one hand is down behind you and one hand is easing you around just a little bit further into that stretch. Let's come down onto the floor. Take your time to get down there. Support behind the leg as you come down. And just make sure head to tail is supported. And we're going to do some pelvic tilts. So as you breathe out, you tilt the pelvis, pubic bone lifts, lower back pushes into the floor. As you breathe in, you release and reverse that. So exhale, push the lower back in. Inhale and arch the back. Imagine you've got a ball on your pelvis and that ball is rolling towards you and rolling away from you. So we're mobilizing through the lower back and then settle into a midway point between the two, which would be a neutral spine. So anytime I mention neutral spine, that means the pelvis is flat. You do have a natural curve at the base of the spine there. And you would set your core to lock that position. So, transverse abdominis pulls into 30%, pelvic floor pulls up to floor 3. And as you breathe out, the hands come overhead, keeping the core engaged. As you breathe in, the hands come back. So your transverse abdominis is a deep layer of abdominal muscle. It's like a corset that's keeping that connection, rib cage to hip, So here it's stopping the rib cage from lifting. Okay, the back doesn't move, the rib cage doesn't lift, and the pelvic floor is stabilizing through the pelvis. So you're drawing up between the legs just a little bit to 30%. Okay, and release there. And then one more warm-up exercise just to make sure the back is warmed up. And we're going to do knee drops. So nice and smooth and controlled. Now your back might have a bit of a pop and a crack on that one, mine just did. And that's just as the joints open up with the movement. It's a little bit of gas that just escapes with a crack from between the joints. It's nothing to worry about. But then again, if this was clunking, this movement, and there was a big clunk every time you did it, that's not good. So you would just reduce the range of movement so that clunk or click is not happening. Okay, good. And from there, we should be well warmed up and ready to go. So we're going to tuck one knee in towards the chest. The other knee tucks in towards the chest. Now at this point, the spine imprints. So the spine is pushed down into the mat. I would like you to maintain this position for single leg stretch. So the core stays set to lock into position. And we're going to extend one leg away. Don't let the back lift. And change one leg to the other. So you've got that leg on full extension away from the body. Don't go up towards the ceiling. Keep the core set and the breathing controlled. Rest at any time. And if you want to make this harder, and as long as there's no problem through the head, neck and shoulders, you can lift the upper body and stretch the fingers towards the ankles, trying to get the head as high as possible so you're not hanging back. If you need to take a little bit of support behind the head, you can do. Keep the spine imprinted, keep breathing with the movement, and rest whenever you need. So that's a single leg stretch. Release and hug the knees in and just rock the knees from side to side. From there, we're going to move on to a single leg circle. So place one foot down on the ground and the other foot comes into a tabletop position, single leg fold. The back is in neutral. So have a think about what that means. Pelvis is flat. The core is set to lock this position. And just make sure you're not bracing off the resting leg. And we begin to circle this leg into the hip. So imagine you're stirring a cup of tea. Now, when I say circle, this shape is like a capital D. So you've got the round belly of the D, then the flat back of the D as the knee comes towards you. And we're going to do 6 one way and 6 the other way. Keeping the core set, make sure the hips don't rock around. So when you've done 6, change direction. So a few things to check. Is your core set? Are you pushing down on that resting leg? Try not to. Is your opposite hip lifting away from the floor? Try not to let that happen. Use your core to stabilize, and you should feel this through the thigh. When we've done 6, we can change leg. Make sure the feet go down hip width apart, the other leg lifts. Again, pelvis in neutral, and begin to circle. 6 one way, 6 the other way. Now don't forget, the circle is into the hip. You're not circling the foot. The leg almost stays still, and you're working through the shape of that capital D. When you've done 6 one way, do 6 the other way, but just make sure that you're still and the breathing is controlled and the core is set. So single leg circles, strength exercise for the quads and the core. Okay, have a stretch. Straighten the legs into the distance, arms into the distance. Okay, from there, bring the feet back towards you and we're going to do a shoulder bridge. Now we're going to do a fixed shoulder bridge. Often you'll do this exercise in class and your instructor will tell you to tilt the pelvis and peel away from the floor. Absolutely right. It's just one way of doing it. What we're going to do is a fixed shoulder bridge. So there's no peeling, no tilting. So the back is in neutral. The feet are hip width apart. Just check and think about the distance between the tips of the rib cage and the hip bones. I want you to keep that distance the same as you exhale and squeeze through the glutes and the backs of the legs to lift the hips up. So, core set, squeeze the glutes, push up through the backs of the legs, keeping this distance, rib cage to hip, the same. Breathe out as you lift. Shoulder bridge. The way we're doing this one is a strength exercise for the hamstrings and the glutes. Make sure you squeeze the glute before you go. So just concentrate on this distance, rib cage to hip. That means the back is not moving. It's staying still. We can bring the arms in to make this more difficult. Now this will make the exercise more difficult because you'll find it harder to keep the back still as the arms come overhead. Naturally, you'll want to arch through the back and push the belly up. Try not to do that. Try and stay still. That's the difficult part. So the rib cage doesn't expand as you come up. Now anything from 8 to 12 here would be fine. Do rest whenever you need. Shouldn't feel any discomfort through the back. Make sure the core stays set. And we can do one more. And then we can do a hamstring stretch. So bring one leg in towards you and extend that leg straight towards the ceiling. Push the tail down towards the floor. Hands are between the knee and the foot if you can. Try not to hold on to the bit we're stretching and change leg. So knee in, extend up, tail down, leg straightens, hands high. Okay. We've got another exercise, last one on your back, and we're going to do a corkscrew or a variation of corkscrew. Now, if you don't like this exercise, you could go back to your knee rolls that we did at the start of the class. So if there's any concerns about the back, I'd like you just to stay on that knee roll hip twist. But with the corkscrew, we lift the feet one at a time. Knees come towards you and then the legs come into tabletop and the back is in neutral. So double leg fold, core set. Now we're going to work in a shape, it's a bit similar to the TripAdvisor logo. So we've got our capital D. Remember the capital D we did on our single leg circle? We're going to do that 2 capital Ds back to back. So what does that mean? Core sets. Come out to the side for the fat belly of the D. Back to centre, then draw the legs towards you. There's the flat back of the D. Then out to the other side, fat belly of the D, then legs straight towards you. Now don't get carried away with this one. Just a small capital D would be fabulous. Shoulder blades stay on the floor. And to make that harder, you straighten the legs. You don't make the exercise, the movement bigger, you straighten the legs. But keep it at a level that you're comfortable with, so it's working you hard, but it's manageable. And you should feel this one through the tummy, little bit through the waist as well. Lower back. Rest at any time, and don't forget your alternative. If it's too much, first of all have a rest, and if it's too much, do knee rolls instead. Similar muscle group without the load on the lower back. But remember, it's not a circle, it's 2 capital D's back to back. Last time through. And then hug the knees in, put the feet down one at a time and have a stretch. Full body stretch into the distance. Take a breath. And then bring yourself up to sitting. So you can either roll over onto one side and push up, or use behind the leg there and rock and roll yourself up to sitting. So the next one we're going to do is rolling back like a ball. And rolling back like a ball is really good for mobility, but it's very important to try to get this rounded back, particularly through the lower back. Let me show you what I'm going to do to start with, and then we'll talk about alternatives. But the key is trying to get this roll really smooth like a ball. That wasn't a very good one. Let me see if I can get that a little bit better. That was better. But if you don't like this one, a good alternative to do is cat and cow. In cat and cow, you round the lower back up like an angry cat and drop the back away like a sway-backed cow. And the movement is more through the back than it is through the head and neck. And that will help improve mobility through the lower back. But let's give this rolling back like a ball a try. Now there's no need to drop the chin because you're not going onto the head. So it's all about this lower back, rib cage to hip. Get yourself into position, C-shape through the spine. Don't throw yourself back. Just allow yourself, allow your weight to take you back into that position and see how smooth you can get it. Now keep going with that. If you find you're sort of going thump to the floor, that's because your lower back isn't rounded. So it'll get to a point and then you're just sort of slap to the floor. So really work on that lower back. Work on that no thump. Just do a little one and try and get that smooth. And if it doesn't work for you, don't just keep going with that slapping noise on the mat. Come into your cat and cow and do that instead. And you can practice that cat and cow every day this week. Practice this rolling back like a ball and then see if you can improve. To make it harder, the hands don't hold on behind the legs. So you're having to use your core to maintain this C shape. And don't put the feet down in between each one. Breathe out as you roll back. And you shouldn't be going onto the neck. Whoops, let's do one more. And release. And have a stretch forwards over the legs. Hold it here. Okay, from here we're going to move into an exercise called saw. Now there's a few different ways you can do this one, but how we've been working on this one recently is quite a classic version of saw. So what I'm trying to achieve with this one is maintaining a neutral spine. So you can do, it's not wrong, it's just a different way of doing it. You can do saw by reaching and rounding forwards over the leg. But what we're trying to do is reach and lean forwards with a neutral spine. So the chest stays lifted and release. And then we turn to the other side and we're going to do 3 little saws. So you lean forwards, chest stays lifted for 3, 2 and 1. So join in with me when you're ready. One hand can go down on the floor, leaning forwards, trying to keep the collarbone long. Try not to let the backs of the knees lift. And it actually becomes quite difficult through the back to maintain this lifted, open chest position. And that's the work. To make it harder, you can extend the arms. Harder again, you can look at this hand behind you, but try not to round forwards. Try to keep the collarbone open, sitting tall on the seat bones. And if you're not sure, keep the hand down and just go a little bit. 3 saws. Now you can feel it a little bit through the hips, so if you need to rest at any time, do try not to hold this position through the hips. Try and hold this position using the core muscles and the back, so your core is engaged. And you should feel this through the backs of the legs with a stretch, but you should really feel it through the back as you try and maintain this lifted chest position. 1 more. And release. Bring the feet together and reach forwards over the legs so we can ease off on the back. Okay, we're going to come down onto our side and do a strength exercise for the glutes. So we're going to do a side kick. So the side lying position is quite important. So you've got your 6 key elements of Pilates, and one of them is precision. So it's trying to get in exactly the right position. So if perhaps I turn more a little bit this way, you might get a better idea of the position of this one. So thinking about upper body to start with, push this top hip away from you so that the spine straightens and the waist isn't dipped down to the floor. And the back is in neutral. So have a think about that. Natural curve at the base of the spine, ear, shoulder, hip, all in line. Then, without changing the position of the upper body, we're going to bring the legs forwards to 45 degrees. Okay, so step forwards, but we're not all the way, but the back stays in this position and the hip stays pushed away from you. Top leg lifts. Now, we're trying not to let the pelvis move. Bring that top leg forwards and push the top leg back, but don't let the pelvis move. Now, as the foot comes forwards, flex the foot. As the foot comes back, point the foot. So you're working hip height, trying to keep the pelvis still, and anything between 8 and 12 would be great. But remember, the key is stability. A good benchmark for your stability is this distance, rib cage to hip. So try not to let the distance shorten between the rib cage and the hip. The hand can be on the floor. The hand can be on the hip. The hand can be elevated above, but make sure it's not waving around to counterbalance. And the difficulty element here is how still you can stay without disturbing the pelvis. And then take a rest. Drop the knee in front, support the head, drop the shoulder back, hand can rest on the hip, or the hand can come down behind you but stay close to the bottom. Okay, we can do the other side with that one. So bring the feet to the other end of your mat. So this is a strength exercise, as I said, for the glutes, for the hip, the core to hold the position as well. So remember, nice line, ear, shoulder, hip, push that top hip away from you. Legs come forwards 45 degrees. Core sets, top leg lifts. Exhale, swing the leg forwards. Inhale, swing the leg back. Flex the foot, coming forwards. Point the toe, coming back. Don't get worried if you get the position of the foot wrong. Don't worry if you get the breathing wrong. Just don't hold the breath. The most important thing is the pelvis stays still. The core stays set. Your tailbone isn't moving. The movement is 100% through the leg. You can bring the arm up above, but again, make sure that it's not poked back to help you balance. Make sure it's not counterbalancing as you work with the leg. Again, 8 to 12, whatever you did on the other side, do the same on this side. If 8's too many, just stick with what works for you. And you can always repeat this session another 2 times during the week. Would be the perfect recipe. And when you're finished, just drop the knee to the floor in front of you. Drop the shoulder back as long as that feels okay. You can always drop the hand to the floor. But never hold a stretch if it causes you any discomfort. Remember, it's the point of tension, not pain. Hold your stretches still and hold them for at least 10 seconds. Okay, from there, we're going to come into our last exercise, which is prone swimming. So we're going to come down onto the tummy. I'm going to turn again this way so you can see what's happening. Swimming, again, it's about precision, it's about flow, it's about control. So the feet are hip width apart, the arms are forwards extended shoulder width apart, the head is down. Tilt the pelvis so the pubic bone comes down towards the floor. Set your core and imagine you've got a blueberry underneath your belly button and you're not going to squash that blueberry as the arms and legs paddle. Let's start off at a nice low level. Head is in line with the spine, core is set, and you extend and lift opposite arm to leg. Don't squash your blueberry. And slowly release. Then do the other side, opposite arm to leg, and slowly release. Now it's easy just to fling the arm and leg up and down in the air, but then the blueberry is going to be completely squashed. So you're trying to keep the pelvis still as you work. Make sure you're not pushing down on the resting arm and leg. And if you want to make that harder, as one lowers, the other lifts. But try not to squash your blueberry. If you lift too high, the pelvis is going to tip. And we're trying to keep the back in neutral and then challenge the position in the back, challenge the muscles by loading the back with the weight of the arms and legs. You should feel this through the backs of the legs, through the back, through the shoulders. Try not to tip and twist. Rest whenever suits you. Shoulders stay down. Core stays set. There's a lot to think about. That's why one of the key elements of Pilates is concentration. And the breath. Don't hold the breath. Breathe in one way, breathe out the other. And then take a rest and place the head into the hands. We're going to sit back into child pose. Child pose, hands come behind you. Tuck the head down into a little ball, round through the back and hold. Then we're going to come into a straddle stretch. Flex the feet. Going to walk forward, slide the fingertips forwards. Try and drop the elbows down towards your mat, but keep the backs of the knees down. This is about the legs more than the back. Hold it there. And slowly release. Soles of the feet together. Draw the feet close. One hand down on the floor. And one hand reaches up and tips to one side. So if you'd like to know more about what we do, please do get in touch. You can email me, Belinda at bbody, that's BEBODY.co.uk, and change to the other side. We've got about 17 different classes within our timetable. We do pre-recorded specials, 20 minutes mobility, full hour classes, video classes, lots happening, and release. Then bring the feet together. So please do like the channel, Keeping Essex Active. Please do subscribe to the channel, give us a like, leave us a comment. And I really hope you enjoyed that this week. I'd like you to try and do the session another couple of times during the week to really build on what you've been learning and what you've been doing. And then I'll see you next Saturday for week 5. Bye.